Greetings, comrades. When responding to a question requiring you to outline how a supply-side factor will impact the exchange rate, there's a four-step process. The first thing you need to do is place emphasis on the fact that there are Aussie resident businesses which are acquiring, purchasing imported goods and services or investing funds overseas. Then we go on to outline how this will require a supply of Aussie dollars to make that foreign exchange. And then, therefore, we're going to explain that this is going to either increase or decrease supply relative to demand, because after all, the exchange rate is affected by forces of supply and demand, which we've been learning throughout the course. And then you'll finish off by doing a little sketch on your S&D curve to outline how the Aussie dollar will appreciate or depreciate. So let's look at an example. If we go back to 2024, when we had a very generous tax cut by Albanese, that actually had a flow-on effect in terms of increasing the disposable income of Australians. So therefore, in structuring our response, our first point is that increase in disposable income will have a flow-on effect and increase our spending on imported goods and services, holding all else equal. So therefore, this will increase the supply, the sale of Oz currency, so we can make that exchange. How does that affect our S&D curve? Well, it pushes supply, the sale of our currency, to the right. And so therefore, when we draw our new equilibrium point, we can see that the price of our Oz currency has fallen, depreciated. Similar approach with demand side factors, starting with emphasis on the fact that we've got overseas purchasing of G&S or additional investment in funds or income payments to Australians. And so then we outline how this will increase the purchase of Australian currency, the demand. And so therefore, what will this do to our demand curve, left or right, relative to supply? And then we outline how this will appreciate or depreciate the Aussie dollar. So let's look at another example. So let's say we're in a peak phase of our business cycle. We've got a relatively high inflation rate compared to our global competitors. What will this do to the exchange rate, holding all else equal? So the first part of our response is we're going to place emphasis on the fact that those inflation rates are going to increase the prices of our goods and services in Australia compared to our competition. What's that going to do to demand? Well, that's going to decrease the sale of our exports and decrease the demand for Oz currency. And so therefore, what's that going to do to the demand curve? Well, we're going to this time shift to the left. And so therefore, if we draw our equilibrium point, again, we've fallen. We've got a depreciation in the Oz dollar.